Right, so I'm back after a break, which turned from a short break into a couple of days. But we're going to continue on. So last time we got the res files, which is just looking at for the scene information, and we grab the scene data and we return it, and we write scene button. So this scene list, we want it to actually be a little bit more concise. So I want to take this word, which looks like this, which is what's written to the button. But because all of this is going to be standard, we are just going to take this part here, and we're just going to comment this out for a second, and we're going to just take, because this is a string, we're going to just go substring, and we're just going to put this in quotations so it appears as a string, and then we're just going to take the length of this string, which should now get rid of the start of the word, and this is on the client side, so it should just update when I redo it. So now we've got just scenes / data default. We can also just if you want, I didn't know that was didn't know there was a syntax for that. Yeah, okay. Scene / scenes, if we put this in, we'd obviously just get the / default or whatever. So / default JSON. So now when we click this, we want it to actually go and do something rather than just sitting there doing nothing. So we set attributes, but one of the things we're going to set is we're going to just go and set on click. And we're actually going to keep this as the full word, and this time I'm going to go load scene. But obviously this is on the editor. But obviously this load's got to be in the this load scene has got to be a function on the editor loader. So now we've got to make that function. So because this is an object, we just put a comma just to denote a new attribute, and we're just going to put in load scene, and we're just going to set this to a function. Takes a parameter of the scene directory, and now when this is clicked, we should just go console.log for now. Scene directory. So let's just open up the console, and I'm going to put this onto the side view. Wrong button. Sorry. Missing after 76.load. State attribute. Okay. Got to concatenate the string. And do that again. scene directory. So obviously we don't put it in as a string, we just put it in as the parameter. And there we go again, and then we got the actual file location. So we might actually just want to go into the editor server, add a new event, which is going to be scene dot get file, and that's just going to take in a message of, no, we don't need all this. Might actually take something from here, which is just the, if the file exists, then we're going to take the file. So I'm just going to take this bit of code, and instead of having this game client, we're going to have this message dot file location. Or we can just put the file name. Which is going to be a little easier to remember. So file name, I'm just going to create a new call. And I'm just going to go res data, wasn't data, it's file name now. So the data is, no, the data would still be in data. It's this parameter here that needs to be, file name is scene directory. And just check that. No. And we can put the file name just in here. That's just an error message, so we can close the server, relaunch the server. And everything seems to be working, so we don't want to do all this yet. So we're just going to keep the data, because I believe it sends it back in data. And we're just going to go console.log data. Just check that is 94, that's 94, so it is printing something out. What is actually in that file? Game data scenes, default, what's actually in here? Whatever's in here is not this, so I don't know what this is printing out. And it's likely that I've just put in the wrong tag for the event tag. So all I've got to do is get the right tag, and then we run this again. And this time we get the entire scene information. So then we just have to do the json.parse and now when you click this, we actually get the all the information in an actual object which we can use properly. So the way this needs to work is the same way it works in the editor's, not the editor, the game itself, the game engine, which was just using a loader. Is it still open? Yes. So load game, data files.length, properties.length. So I'm pretty sure it's this one that takes in the scene information. Oh, is it the load scene? No, it's the load scene. So the resolution, we get the data, which is just going to be the same data. We just create core.scene. Now, I might be making a new scene object because the scene, the core scene for the game, does all the update systems, and then it does the on graphical user kind of thing. It does the on graphical user interface with the actual update system itself, which we need to actually separate, so the editor can just use the graphical side of it rather than every other side of it. So right now that should still be functioning. Core is not defined. Core.editor.change. So where did that call it from? That was 96. Core.scene. Okay, so there's no core scene in this editor. Which I might have missed, because I think we need to make a new one for the editor itself. Editor core, and in this editor core I want to actually go and get the actual real, the game core, and actually just change it to the editor. Copy it, paste it, and this, the only thing I'm going to do here is going to go editor core rather than just having core itself. Set interval, so we don't really need this interval at all. We don't need the temporary setter. And we can keep this anyway, because we're going to need that. And obviously we need to go and change now the editor loader to editor core, editor core, editor core, editor core. And I need to add the editor core to the HTML file. think that now will work. So if I click on court is not defined at 40, scene 40. Looks like the editor core is still going to have to be cool. Which also means in the editor loader it's okay because it is using the editor core, not the actual game core. Right, so it's still not drawing anything, so in the scene, or I'm going to put it in the core, probably best to put it in the core. So core.draw GUI equals function, and that should be good enough. So we call that from this. So once it's loaded everything in, it's going to try and draw the actual information to the screen. All we need to do now is figure out what the scene actually looks like, which means I've got to actually open the scene from the game, which is what I'm doing now. So we have run, which is going to the layers, and that layer is going to go to the actor, obviously. So it's going to go from to on run to on run, and then run draw. And we can just do this dot on just only draw equals function. I'm going to just take some of this information here, and instead of doing all of it, we're just going to remove the first two parts and just have the run draw part of it. So that's going to go from the layers. So that scene is going to have a only draw function. At some point I will go through every file and change all these from either uppercase to lowercases or lowercases to uppercases. I like uppercases for the methods, but when I started out I wanted to try and use the JavaScript sort of strict language, which I think is JSLint, or JSLint is a type of checker, but I'm not particularly fond of having lower cases as functions. So we just need to reiterate the same thing, and instead of on run we just put only draw. And that should be fine. It's not running right now because we haven't either put it in a core. Because actually we need to go and get core dot scene. I can type. I'm going to do only draw the function. And 26 at its core, which was what we just typed. Now I just want to check that in the editor loader core.draw GUI. Or we could skip the whole GUI to begin with and just run draw GUI on only draw. Which is now working, and we can just get rid of the core .draw GUI because it doesn't need it. And we can see it's drawing the scene. So if we made another scene now, can we go in and change something about this object, which we haven't done serialization yet, so that will be something that we need to do before we can actually do this properly. Render button. So put a render rectangle. You should see something slightly different when we open it up. So we have draw JSON, and we've got default copy, default JSON and default -copy JSON. So if we open this one, we just get the square, and if we open this one, we get the square and the rectangle. So now we have a way to go between them. It's not particularly a nice way to go between them, but it's still decent at least. So we need to be able to do something slightly different with them. So I've got to try and think of how we're going to do this. But I guess first we could just simply add on this load scene. We can make a if not confirm a new scene will cause any unsaved data to be lost. Do you want to continue? I'm not the fastest typer in the world, obviously. So now when we click this button, we'll get this, and it won't load unless we do the, well, I guess it doesn't run that function. I'm just going to put return here as part of the condition. So if you don't accept it, if you accept it, it will load it. If you don't accept it, it won't load it, essentially. So next we need to have a structure that allows us to see the list of actors that are available for us to essentially all the actors that are actually in this scene. So we can give it a heading if we want, and we can give it just a break line, so it's a bit a little separated from the rest of the other containers. So we can put scene actors, can give it an ID of just scene actors. Now the loader, we might want to make a new system for this, which is what I'm going to do. So what should we call the system? Parse scene to GUI. That sounds technical, but it essentially has some meaning to the name of it. Or we just call it parse scene. And we'll just know that it's going to the actual graphical user interface. So for this we need to actually make a load actor list, and then we're just going to create a function for it, and then when this function is called, it's just going to look at all the information inside the actor, and it's going to just print it out as a single list. So we want to actually look at all the layers, so it's going to be 5. I'm actually just going to comment layers at the end just so I know what it's actually doing. And we're going to go document create element, and now we're just going to make a div, and we're just going to make this layer con. So we can then append it to the scene actors at the end, and as long as everything is inside the we've actually got to clean it first. So as long as everything's inside the layer container, we'll add the layer container onto append to this. So append child layer container. So I'm just going to set the inner HTML of this to nothing, which means it's going to clear any information within inside it. Then we can actually draw the rest of the information. So we know the scene's got layers, so we can go. Now what we need to do is get all the actors inside each layer. So let I equals 0. I'm going to have to do j because it's inside another loop. J is less than core.scene.layers I dot actors dot length j plus plus, and we can just make this a little bit easier on ourselves by putting the actual actors j and storing in a variable here, which would be current actor. So if we need to access this, we can just use this instead of having to type this out every single time, which can be very useful. And the current actor has just got to create another div, so let's just go act div equals document.create div, which we can, which if we wanted to, we can also put layer.container dot append child, and we call it layer header, and we can just go let layer header equal let's just put it as a h4, and then if we just want to add the information inside the header, we just go layer and then we can put the I in this brackets. So then inside the header is going to be the text. So when this boots up and we actually call this, which we'll actually just set up now so we don't have to worry about this slightly later on, is that the parse scene dot load actor list. Because it doesn't take a parameter, we can just leave it. And that should now draw the headers of the layers. All we've got to do now is draw the actor divs, which is going to just be, I guess we don't need to number them, but really we should give the actors a name, which we haven't. But we can do that a little later on. All we need to do right now is just make sure that we can differentiate between how many actors there are and the structure of the actual game itself. So I'm just going to put inner HTML equals, I'm going to change this div to a button, so that's going to help us a bit later on. And actor, and we're just going to do the same thing that we did with the layers here, which is I'm just going to put J inside it. But now if we need to get the actors.name, we can just put this in here, and we can just append it to current actor. Let's just use current actor dot name, which right now it has no file, no indication of the name. So it's just going to put actor. We'll just look at how this is going to draw itself out. Yes, and I didn't append anything to it, so check something in a second. We've got to just get this layer calm. We need to add the actual actor to the layer, so pen child, actor div. Should be sorted now. The layers, check I've put it in correctly here. So layers is correct, and in layers there should be actors, which is correct, until lowercase, and that's correct. Now will it show up if I load a scene in? Will it load the actor lists? No. Probably because I haven't put the parse scene in here. Parse scene. Now if I parse, now it should detect it. Sources, we can see if there's a just going to pages, we can have a look, see if there's any information here. So scenes, core parse scene. So parse scene is loaded. Question is, why is it not? Core.scene. Let's just try doing it manually. Parse scene. Upload actor list, which is now working. So something's gone amiss, and it could be no, it can't be that. So I was thinking that it could have been that I'm taking data in, then we're trying to add all this stuff to it before it actually does anything. So but it can't be that because I'm doing things like actor reference, add property, so that information should already be in that snippet of code. It's not on a race condition, essentially. Add actor list. So, okay, we might be doing this slightly earlier than it should have been done. So now if we do and open the default, yes. Why are you still not running? Try console.log, just make sure it is actually firing from that. Parsing. Which is not appearing, so something's amiss, or I'm going to load the core loader. Or did I put it on the wrong loader? I put it on the wrong loader. Let's put it on the editor loader, not the game engine loader. That's why I'm confused. Now if we run it, cannot read property of null in the layers. Reading layers. Okay, so right, so you might be thinking that the core scene is actually a blank object, no, a null object. So because I think I've still put it in the wrong place. On draw only. There we go. So they have no names, so they're currently undefined. We could also make an amendment to that, which means all we've got to do is go to the core folder, actor, and just go this.name equals actor, in which case when we load it, it should just go actor, which is a little nicer representation. Right, so now we've done this, all we need to do now is do the serialization section, which means I'm going to have to do some extra little things, but for now we'll do that in the next part, and we'll just finish off with just doing some slight work on the actual design itself, because right now this block you can't really tell when it begins and when it ends, so we're just going to do a small border around it just so we can actually tell what it's actually doing. And I'm also going to put a minimum height on this, 50 pixels, and I'm going to put a border on it, solid 1 pixel, and it should be good enough. actor list, I think it was just called that, and we're just going to use the same, or scene actors. We're just going to use the same style. And there we have it. So actors, once you load it up, these two fill out so you know exactly what you're dealing with. Now the scene actors probably want to be slightly bit bigger, so we'll put it to 800, so it's about 4 times the size it can be. Just so it's a little easier to maneuver, especially if you've got like hundreds of actors inside it. And I guess we can start setting up as well the property, the editor for the essentially what acts like the inspector for this engine. If you compare it to Unity, it would be the inspector in Unity. So we can do scene serialize editor, and we can just put serialize properties. Serialize elements, and we can also just give this the basic treatment as well, but this will probably need to be a bit bigger than the actual what's essentially this scene hierarchy in Unity. So and somehow we put that in the scene act. Just make sure you've got the closing statement for the div, otherwise you get things happen like this. So we've got scene serialize editor, we've got scene actor list, and we've got scene list. And we have our scene. So that's where we'll leave off, and next time we will do a lot of work with the actual serialization, because we need to change how the properties work slightly and how the user interfaces work, just so we can just represent them in this area here. Okay.